All right, we roll on the .com side. Justin Stucky. Justin, how you doing, man? It's been a year, but it's good to finally see you again.
Yeah, good to see it. Just like feels like it was yesterday.
By the way, you said, Scout, you completely left off the most important part of Justin's bio, which is Marcus Marauder legend. That's the most important part.
That's very true.
Yeah.
There we are.
Right, baby. Red
Battle of the
Storm
Mountain,
Rising.
man. That is one of the best rivalries in high school football. There's no doubt. So how are we feeling so far about the Hall?
I feel good. I think we honed in on some guys, and I think we stuck true to the board, and we're able to get some guys that are going to come in and hopefully help us right away.
You guys put in a lot of miles throughout the year. Is there any specific draft story over the course of the last year, whether it be a guy that's picked or whatever, that kind of stands out for you over the course of the last 12 months?
A guy that we've picked.
Either or, however you want to answer it.
Man, put me on the spot.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I got the Midwest, so it's pretty bland around there. So I don't really have any guys with any too crazy backgrounds or anything like that. So
what I've heard about Cooper Beebe's family is that they are all ball. Have you had interactions with their family and just kind of or his family and kind of how that interacts with him?
No, I haven't. I haven't interacted with any of the family members. I've heard that they're all about it. Of course, he's got his brother that he stuck around, wanted to play with. And interesting, last night on like my college group thread, one of my buddies said that he's actually a member of the same golf club that they are up there. So he's like, I see his parents and I see his brother up there all the time. That's so I guess they're big golfers too.
Well, Cooper was one of the guys that early in the process last year we watched, like hoping, okay, maybe he'll come back. Then he goes back to school. Do you run into that often where you're like, man, I love this kid, and then he decided to go back a year and now I got to wait on him?
Oh yeah, especially since COVID happened, and all those guys got that extra year. I mean, the last couple of years, all these guys, we treat them like they're seniors and they're about to come out. And then all of a sudden at the last second, they end up pulling back. So, he went back with a purpose. From what I got, it was, he wanted to go back and play with his brother. It was real important to him. He's trying to go back, be one of the best offensive linemen K-State's ever had, try to get his name up on the Ring of Honor there. Yeah. So he really went back with a purpose. He wasn't just going back to kind of hang out.
Justin, we and I was going to ask you, talk about how things affect you. We were NIL money and stuff like that. How has all the transfer stuff been for you? Because in the first round of this draft, you had 9 guys transfer that went to other schools and got first round grades. How you guys track guys throughout because of your area. How difficult is that as you can you like lose guys, gain guys? Is that something we're going to have to deal with going out on the road all the time now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to be kind of come the norm. It can be a little disheartening at times because you sit here and you spend all this time, investing in these guys, watching the tape, getting the character and background. And then you're like, okay, well, maybe they're going back to school. It's like, all right, well, I got everything for next year already together. And then they transfer out somewhere else. And you're like, all right, what was all that work for, kind of?
Yeah.
But I think the biggest issue that we're going to be going and we deal with right now is, the fact that we get all this character and background and then these guys leave, and then you get guys that come in, and who knows, maybe they're there just for the semester, right? So you go in there in August, and they've been there for 2 weeks,
and they don't know them.
They don't know them at all,
right?
So I mean,
that's tough.
You can watch, you can get the tape, and you can watch the tape, right? And watching the football is getting the skill set, and you can get that no matter where they go. But trying to actually get to who these guys are with all of the support staff that you need to talk to, that's really what makes it difficult, is try to really get a sense of who these guys are.
I'm curious. This is since we have you here, I like to be selfish and then ask general scouting philosophy questions, which I'll ask here after we get back from the 10-second break that Peyton just yelled in my ear.
Talking with Marcus Marauder legend Justin Stucky, one of your Cowboys top scouts here on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, Cowboys.com. Bobby Belt in the midst of a very serious, selfish question for Justin. What do you got, Bobby?
Scouting philosophy question, or more, I guess, just to the process. I know that a lot of scouts say that the spring visits to campus a lot of times are more crucial than fall because maybe coaches feel a little more comfortable sharing information and giving you details, and you can learn a lot more there. Would you ever have any pause if you feel like oh, this isn't the same guy I heard about in the fall, maybe necessarily, or things change? Does that give you any sort of like a hesitancy, or do you say I'm gonna trust that maybe there's just been an evolution, or whatever factor is there? Does if there's a difference between spring and fall descriptions to you, does that make you stand back and go, okay, let me work a little harder, let me check on this guy a little more?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to take it into consideration. You know, I think that's a red flag that'll go up and be like, all right, I'm going to have to go back and kind of dig my sources again. But I think it all depends on who you get it from, too. You know, fortunately, a lot of us have been put in these areas for a while, and so we know who we're going in and who we're talking with and who we can trust. And so if it's somebody that, you know, you're just kind of hearing something about, you know, you could kind of take it with a grain of salt, but you definitely have to do your due diligence to go back and double check on it for sure.
Versatility is obviously a very important trait, and especially in today's NFL, needing to play multiple things over the course of a 17-game season. But it feels like the scouting department, even more so recently over the last half decade, has really emphasized on that. You go back to last year, looking at guys and look at the picks yesterday. I mean, Marshawn Nealon, he's a guy that can stop the run, stop the pass, but also Maris being able to be a 3-level defender in some ways.
Yeah.
And then Cooper Beebe, not only seeing that he has the ability to move inside to center, but understanding that there was practice film of him at center. Is that something that you guys really seek out early in the process, is, hey, can this guy do multiple things for us?
For sure, yeah. I think versatility is a big thing, and especially since Coach McCarthy has come in too. You know, he's a guy that has been deep in the playoffs multiple times, and he always hones in. He's like, hey, you know, when we get to week 19, week 20, he's like, I mean, these guys' bodies are all banged up by that point, you know, so you don't know who's going to be there for you. So if you can have somebody who can step in and, you know, kind of move over and play a different role, then that's huge.
Is there a positional trend that you're seeing in the draft that you find interesting? I guess, for instance, like a couple years ago, you started seeing more kind of tweeners at the DT position. Is there something that stuck out to you as of late that you want to share?
I mean, I would say probably one of the biggest trends is probably more so just like, you know, the speed rushers, you know, the edge rushers off the edge. You know, it's now you can get away with a lot of leaner, lighter guys, and because those are also guys that are going to drop back in coverage. I mean, really all the positions that you're going to be having to play in space, you know, those are all coming into the game big time.
11's probably a cause of that, huh?
Oh, yeah, big time. Yeah, well, there aren't too many of those out there, so they could try. But
have you found that we talk a lot about the NIL era and how that impacts things? Have you found that has changed the type of mentality that the players have in these recent years in terms of how they come out, good or bad? Have you just noticed like a difference in personality or expectation when they get to the NFL?
Yeah, I think so. You know, a lot of these guys are getting stuff handed to them, you know, at a very, very young age, and everything is going to get catered. And so if you're not one of those top picks coming in here, it's like, what's your mindset going to be? Like, are you going to be humble enough to come in here and really grind, you know, and work for what you really need to, instead of just getting something handed to you?
Speaking of the grind, Justin, the scouts, you guys are really the backbone, in my opinion, of the entire organization. The work that you put in, the daily grind, the amount of time you're on the road, away from your family, and a lot of fans don't understand and know the work that goes into that. Can you kind of shed some light on maybe a daily life of an NFL scout and how this time period from the season up until the draft goes for you?
Yeah, for sure. You know, pretty much from August all the way up until November, we have, you know, that's our busy time when we're out on the road, and we're pretty much out there for 12 days straight, you know, counting the travel days. So we'll come home on a Thursday, be home Friday, Saturday, and then we're back out that Sunday, and we're not back for another week and a half. So very limited time with the family. And then while we're out, like I know for me in the Midwest, my area is a lot more spread out. So a short drive for me is like 3 hours. Wow. So if you think about it, I'm making a 3-hour drive every day, and that's after putting in a full work day. So it's like get to the school at 7, talk to everybody that you need to, watch film, watch practice. You're out of there maybe by 3 o'clock or so, make a long drive, pick up some food along the way, and then you're working until midnight, you know, midnight or later. And you could try to get as much done as you can, because the next day you got a whole nother crop of guys that you got to look at. So you're pretty much doing that for like 4 months straight. So, and if you don't stay on top of it, then, I mean, it can just drown you. And then you get a little break. Sometimes on Saturdays you'll hit a game, or you're just sitting in the hotel typing up, getting all the reports in that you need to. So.
Yeah, Justin, God bless you and the scouts for having to deal with Mike Zimmer. I dealt with him in my life as working here. But the transition, you guys do a great job of the coaches, and Will always talks about this, the marriage between the scouts and the coaching staff. How has the transition been with you guys having to learn from Zimmer after having to deal with Dan Quinn and some of the traits, characteristics? Has it been a big transition, or and I know Mike's like, hey, just bring me players. I'll coach them up.
Yep.
How's that transition been for you guys?
Yeah, transition's been good. The communication's been good. I think fortunately for us, we haven't had to make too many big changes there because especially when DQ came in, we put an emphasis on getting bigger, longer, stronger, athletic guys with versatility.
Right.
So a lot of the guys that we have now and the guys that we're looking at going into this draft are guys that really can just kind of move over and fit right into Zim's defense. So it's been pretty easy from that perspective.
That's good.
I guess because there is so much turnover in the NFL and you don't know year to year, how do you weigh when you're evaluating some of these players, like he's more scheme specific versus, okay, the versatility, he can fit in any type of role if we do have changeover with a coach?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you just watch the tape and kind of let the player show himself, and then you give them the value no matter what, and then when it comes to it down at the end, then you decide, hey, are they the right fit or not?
You know, talking about the coaching process, like Brian just mentioned there about the idea of, you know, finding out what they want and going to get it. Do you find yourself having generally all those answers laid out for you when you go hit the road, or do you, when you come across a player, you watch something and go like, this is an interesting thing. Let me pick up the phone. Let me call Greg Ellis and say, Greg, hey, I got this guy. He does this. How comfortable are you with this? What do you like? Like, is that the kind of conversation? Is that an ongoing process of figuring out what little, you know, things they are comfortable coaching?
Yeah, I think it's definitely an ongoing process. I mean, we try to do the best that we can there right at the beginning. You know, I mean, as soon as they came in, you know, we had an across the hall meeting where we got together with both sides of the ball, and the coaches, each position coach got up there and talked, hey, this is what I'm looking at specifically for the position, and then how it kind of fits within the scheme. Then obviously we go to training camp, and as college guys, we're able to be there, watch our guys move around, you know, for a few days, see how they fit in. And so the communication's constant. And then we go out there and we grade. And then once we come in, I mean, it's very much of a collective of what we do, right? Yeah. So it's like we come in, we get to speak on what we think the player does the best. Coaches get to talk about it, and then we all come together as a decision and put them up on the board. It's not really like, hey, this is what we think, this is what they think, and then we bash it. It's like, no, this is what we think. Let's come together.
When you're out there at training camp watching your guy, is it like watching like your kid at a game or something where you're like, come on.
It's not like Chris Vaughn watching Views. You know, it's definitely like you're sitting there, you're like, come on.
Let's go.
Yeah, don't embarrass me.
That kind of leads into my question. Different scouts kind of have different beliefs on this. Some would like to get 3-4 in a draft just so they can have their guys, and also some that are like, hey, if we don't take any of my guys, that's no pressure for me next year. Is there a split in the room on that, or does everyone want to get their guys?
Well, before Micah, when I was in the Northeast, I mean, I got blacked out pretty often there the last few years. It was nobody, and you know, sometimes we might pass on a guy for whatever reason that you were there, and you're like, oh, I think he could have helped the team. But I think at the end of the day, you just really need to check your ego at the door, and you need to be unselfish. And whatever player we can come in and that is going to best help us move forward, that's what it's all about. You know, it's not about my guy having to get him in here. It's about getting the right guy. You know, because at the end of the day, we just want to win. Yeah. So.
Justin, thank you so much for giving us some time.
Good
Enjoy the
hunting
rest of the
today,
draft.
man. Good hunting.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
thank you, brother.
Thank you.